how do you coordinate the staff? Hey, I'm Chuck, the bureaucrat. A couple of weeks ago, I presented the 3-layer model, where essentially you got 3 different groups of workers. At the top, you have executives who are making decisions. At the bottom, you have action officers who are doing the bulk of the work. And then between them, you have directors who provide an interface. Within your organization, this model replicates itself over and over and over. Finance has its 3 layers, human resources has its 3 layers, and so does operations. And in order for your organization to make a decision, the executives of these different staffs, they've got to come together, reach consensus. And so how do you, as an action officer or a director, help facilitate that kind of coordination? Well, one of the ways we do this is with a series of meetings. Action officers participate in working groups, then the directors meet, driving ultimately towards an executive meeting that hopefully culminates in a decision. If you're actually going to achieve a decision, it's important to be mindful of how information flows through these staff sections while this is happening. One of the most problematic information flow patterns is what I call the Candelabra. In this situation, action officers meet in a working group and then they disperse and individually report up through their chains of command. Now, the first problem with this flow of information is each action officer tends to focus on the specialty of their staff section and marginalize the others. Finance thinks about finance things. Human resources thinks about human resources things, and nobody thinks that the operations is that important. So rather than overcoming conflicts and moving towards a decision, this flow of information actually sets the stage for even more conflict. The other problem with the Candelabra flow of information is sort of the natural loss of information that happens as it goes to directors and then to executives. While this is completely natural, this filtering process can lead executives to diverge even further from each other. Another problematic way that information flows is what I call the tree. Here, after a meeting, one action officer reports through his director and executive, and then that executive sends the meeting summary to the other execs, and it trickles back down through their staffs. You get the same issues as the Candelabra, but they happen in a different order. Here, the action officer who writes the summary focuses on the concerns of his staff section and marginalizes the others, and then the natural filtration that happens as it goes up through his leadership exacerbates that issue. And this tree-shaped flow of information, it introduces yet another problem, and that is that when each staff section's executives get this summary, they push it down through their own staffs. And I've got a whole video that addresses why that's problematic. So how are you going to fix this, or at least deal with it? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you is you don't get to dictate how other staff sections manage the flow of information internally, but you can influence it. See, the first thing is you can always write your own summary. Now, it might not be official, but don't let that stop you. Second, when you write your summary, focus on the concerns of the other staff sections and pay particular attention to how you would address those issues so that you can get to consensus. Then, what you do is you share this with your peers and with your leadership. Then, what you want to do is you want to have your leadership share your summary with their peers in the other staff sections. Now, you might have to ghostwrite some of this, but we'll talk about how to do ghost notes in a future video. And then what you want to watch for is evidence that the executives of the other sections are unaware of the issues. Nothing is worse than trying to arrive at consensus when there's people who have to be part of that consensus that don't even know the issue exists. If you sense that there's an executive who doesn't have good internal staff coordination on this issue, reach out and offer to meet with him or his director on this issue. Trust me, nothing stimulates internal coordination with a staff like an external meeting with their executive. Now, this matrixed approach, what it does is it avoids surprises for the executives, it keeps everybody informed, and it keeps the focus on how to resolve points of conflict. And here's the real important thing. It dramatically increases the likelihood that the time and effort you're putting into this is actually going to deliver results for your executive. Listen, I need you to be as successful as possible. There is just a ton of work out there to make our nation as strong and successful as possible. So if this information is useful, share it with others. If you want to learn more, subscribe. And if you have a question, put it in the comments section. Listen, if I don't know the answer, I'll find the person who does know the answer, and we will get an answer for you.